This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vossoughi and Mikey Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello, and welcome back to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mikey Stiller, joined by my co-host, Arash Vossoughi, and today we're going to be diving into fear. Fear is something that every single person has experienced, and everybody has some sort of relationship to fear, whether it's good or bad. Fear may not always feel good. And so because that feeling gives us a perception of it, a lot of us run away from fear. So Arash, I'm excited to unpack this. And I know over the years, your relationship with fear has changed quite a bit. Will you tell us a little bit about what your relationship with fear used to be and what it looks like now?
Yeah, sure. I don't think I had a great relationship with it. And I think that's why I was failing at such a strong level. I remember I kept hearing fear of success, fear of failure. Then I'd start asking myself, well, which one is it? Do I have fear of success or fear of failure? So I started really going down the wrong track. I think it's the wrong track to go down that way. And I remember I got this book that was called, I can't remember the author, but it was called Conquering Fear. And all the book was about was, identify as a fear of success, fear of failure. Then I said to myself, who cares? Like, what does it matter if it's fear of success or fear of failure? I've got to figure out this whole thing about fear. And as I started studying myself more, I would look at where my triggers of fear came from. And the best antidote to overcome fear is action. But you have to make a definite decision. To me now, from overcomplicating it and overanalyzing it, where it came from, and when it changed is when I said, what does it matter? Just do it. That was I'm not trying to use the Nike slogan, but that's really what it was. And it was like, we have to, like when I say we, I'm talking to myself. I was saying, I've got to figure this out to get on the other side of it, because the other side of fear is where freedom lies. When we're so overwhelmed with fear, it's like we're in quicksand and we can't move. Like it could be a very, think about anybody who's had a fearful situation, or you may be in one right now, and it's like you can't even do anything about it. Yesterday, I was working with one of my one-on-one clients, and he said, Arash, I'm literally 2 days away from creating this website that will launch my business, but I'm not doing it because I know he was basically saying, I know it'll put me on the hook. And my advice to him was just, I want you to do it right away and text me as soon as you're done with it. I want you just do it. And I have a slogan with myself. I don't mean to be vulgar, but it's just effing do it is the way I talk to myself. And that's basically what I told him. And I said, I'm going to be raw with you right now. And I said, it's your self-image holding you back from not doing it. But you're never going to create the life you want. I'm never going to create the life I want living in the fear. We've got to stop living in the fear. And to me now, fear is just feedback of what's going on inside of me. That's all it is. It gives me a signal. Oh, interesting. I wonder why I accepted this. Well, over the years, I created a process that I'll teach you right now that will overcome any fear. It's going to be so simple that it's going to be easy to reject. I'm going to tell you that right now. But we've got to understand fear is not the cause. It is the effect. Most people think it's the cause, and it's not the cause. What is the cause of fear? It's worry and doubt. Where does worry and doubt come? It comes from your old conditioning. So how do I stop accepting the worry and doubt where the effect, then it turns into fear, then I'm stuck in quicksand? Well, the first thing you do is you tell yourself, this is just old conditioning. And then you make a definite decision. Like as soon as you tell yourself it's old conditioning, that voice quiets down. Then you make a definite decision and you say, this is what I'm doing no matter what, whatever it is. And you go and do it, the fear is gone. It's literally gone right away. And then just tell yourself, oh, that's interesting feedback. That means I accepted that old conditioning in this present moment that created this fear. And it may have been days, it could have been weeks. But the best antidote to break free of fear is to stop doubting yourself. So when the doubt comes, say, nope, that's old conditioning. That voice will stop. You make a definite decision and you step out and take action right away. Nothing will kill fear more than action. Action will do it right away.
I love the way that you put that. Nothing kills fear like action. Have you ever had a situation where you had fear and you were worried about a situation or doing something, and the longer you put it off, the bigger the fear or the bigger the situation got? And then as soon as you just took action and did it, you were like, wow, that was not as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be. And then it makes you think, why didn't I do this a week ago, 2 weeks ago? Why did I procrastinate so long or make it so big? So my question is, as you change your relationship with fear, do you stop having fear, or do you just move through fear quicker? Like, does your relationship change? Because fear doesn't necessarily just go away. I want to hear you talk about this.
Well, sure. You still will have fear. Like, fear is not a bad thing. It tells you what's going on inside, like I said earlier. So it gives you awareness of the program that is holding you back, or the worry and doubt and the old conditioning that you're still is still a big part of your identity. So I still have fear, but I know how to overcome it because of what I just showed you, but I just do it now. See, how many times do we know we should do something and we're not doing it? There's that few seconds where if you just acted in that few seconds, it'd be done. How many times have you had a project and you're like, if I just do this now, it's done? Or then it keeps on your mind over and over again. So you want to start, we've talked about it in the past, we want to start trusting our instinct. Our instinct will get us to act right away, but when we get to the fear, we're saying worst case scenario. I want you to see yourself as the best case scenario. We want to always come from the end of overcoming that fear, or the end of our goal. We work backwards from the goal, and that goal is going to demand you to overcome fear. If you have no fear, the goal is not big enough. You're playing in your comfort zone. So I still have fear. I know you probably still have fear. And the fear isn't the problem. That's just feedback of what's going inside. Say, okay, this is the feedback. I'm going to change that right away. So you work, to answer your question, you work through it a lot quicker.
I love that. I used to years ago be someone who things would come up and I'd be like, oh, I'll take care of that on Friday. I'll take care of that on Friday. And I would put things off to the end of the week. I do not do that at all anymore. Now I'm like, I'm going to take care of it right now. I'm going to get through it right now. But it makes it so that you have momentum working for you, and so that you're not sitting in the fear for so long. What are some other tips that you can give everybody who might have something that has really got them frozen, right? They might have this dream that's completely outside of their identity. Like maybe they're in a corporate job or a desk job, and they have this dream of owning their own business, but it seems so big and so outside their current identity that they don't even know the first step to take to start moving through the fear. What would your advice be in that situation?
Well, you've got to make a definite decision. You're not going to know how. If you knew how, you'd already be doing the thing. So the way always shows itself when you make space for the way. So that person who wants to create their own business, who's in a corporate job, like you were saying, the first thing I would do is I would make a definite decision. This is what I'm doing. But I mean, it's got to be an irrevocable, committed decision. If it's a weak decision, you're not going to take action. And then you do one thing that will take action. So give you an idea, set up your own LLC, or set up your logo of what you're going to do. Just one action is going to make it more real. See, we want to give life to the things that are on the other side of fear, not the fear itself. And when we're giving life to the fear, we're always thinking from the past. The fear is not coming from the present. It's coming from the past of where that worry and doubt is and where that old conditioning is. So like I said, we have to break free. We have to stop doubting ourselves. And then we don't sit back and play it safe, because that is a dumb idea. Nothing is going to happen by playing it safe. You want to get irrational with yourself and illogical with yourself and do one thing in the way you would do it if you were actually achieving the other side of fear where freedom is.
Gosh, Raj. Okay. I feel like a lot of people too are really hard on themselves as far as criticizing themselves goes and picking themselves apart and, you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, but not hard on themselves in the way of demanding more of themselves as far as action goes. And I think that it's not necessarily a bad thing to be hard on yourself if you're demanding more of yourself, but it is a bad thing to be hard on yourself if you're chipping away at yourself. When you talk about both of those and how fear relates to your identity.
Yeah, I mean, if you're used to just succumbing to fear, then you're going to always succumb to it. You've got to break that pattern. I mean, it is a behavioral pattern that is part of your identity, and that's where people shrink. We don't want to shrink. We want to expand. I mean, we're born to win and succeed. And if you don't believe me, go look at other things that you've won on in your life. And there's times where you've won in a big way. Well, what we have to do is we have to have that courage. We have to step out and act in the unknown. That's where you break free of it. But until you do it, you're going to keep holding yourself back. You're going to keep shrinking. And shrinking kills your self-identity more than anything else. And what we've got to ask ourselves is, why are we holding on to the fear so tightly? And it's a great question. It makes no sense, because all it's going to do is keep creating more of what we don't want. And it's not like we wake up every day and say, you know what, today I'm going to sabotage the hell out of myself. I am going to shrink like you've never seen me shrink before. Nobody wakes up like that. The problem is people are waking up without fire in their belly. They've got to have some passion. They got to say, I don't know how it's going to happen, but this is what I'm going to create. And then your mind is going to flip on a different frequency when you make a decision. And you're only going to think of how you can, not why you can't. And then the fear has no power. The fear only has power when it's, am I going to be liked? What if it doesn't work? What if I don't get a promotion? What if I can't? What if I fail in business? You may fail. But what happens is if you keep persisting, you're going to win. The one thing when I was really having a hard time is I was never going to quit. I was never going to give into it. Like, I promise you, I failed and failed and failed for 3 years. And I just knew that I had this mentality that I was never going to give in. I just knew at one point I just had to tip the scale in my favor. And I will tell you, the greatest competitive advantage we have is not giving in and not giving up to the outside. Because if you persist long enough, you're going to overcome it. I really believe this in my heart of hearts, that the universe tests us when we want something big with adversity. Because I could look back, I've had, before my greatest successes on all levels, I could look back on this numerous times. I had adversity right before I could see the success with my 5 senses. And I promise you that that's exactly what people are going to continue to face.
I love that. Arash, is fear always obvious, or is it sometimes subtle?
For me, like, once it gets to the fear state, it's pretty obvious. Like, you're afraid to act. And then you become mechanical, you're overthinking, or you'll let an outside result impact you. Like, if we just did one thing, we had a group yesterday, our peak performers, and I told them this. I said, I can't prove this. I really cannot prove this is a scientific fact. But I believe if you focus on beating your personal best every day and not being dictated by the outcome, you're going to surpass 95, 97, 98% of the population just by pure grit, by not giving in, by getting better at your processes, by practicing your craft, by being a great contributor, by really working in harmony with the law of compensation. I really believe that. And I only say that because I could give myself advice that I would have given myself 18 years ago, just to relax and master yourself and have the guts to do it. And I promise you, it's going to be bigger and better than what you could imagine.
You stated towards the beginning that fear comes from worry and doubt. That's the cause. How, if you are feeling like you're starting to have worry or doubt, what can you do before it turns into fear?
You reject it right away. You reject it, say, no, this is old condition. This is how you have to talk to it. Like as direct as I am right now, you got to say, no, that's old conditioning. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. The only thing that matters is how I respond in the present. And you've got to be definite with yourself. You've got to hold yourself to a standard that you can figure this out. And when you make a definite decision, it has more power than anything. Nothing happens without a decision. And you've got to decide that this is going to be your defining moment. In that moment, if you make it your defining moment and say, this is what I'm doing. Now, you may sit back and say, well, I don't even realize it until after the fact. We'll start finding that out. Even let's say I didn't realize it till after the fact. Say, now I realize it. It's overcome me. What was I thinking in that moment when I accepted that worry and doubt? We want to start finding out what the triggers are. See, like I have a motto, and my motto is do the work. If you work the ideas work. They don't work some of the time. Everything happens by exact law, not luck. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It only matters that you do it. You know, I was talking several months ago to my cousin, and he's in real estate, and he does such a phenomenal job. Like he is doing such a phenomenal job. And he said to me, do you think it works in my industry just as much? I said, it works in any industry, any industry. It does not matter because we're bringing us to the table. See, how we're showing up is what we're going to get. If we put out good effort, we're going to get good back. If we put out great effort, we're going to get great back. And we want to understand there's only 4 things we control. We do not control the marketplace. We do not control the market. We do not control the economy. We control our economy. But the 4 things we control is what we think about, our attitude, our focus, and our effort. Those are the only 4 things we control. I cannot control the uncontrollable. The uncontrollable is the outside. I can't control it, but I can control myself. And if I keep winning the day and overcoming my doubts, because you're going to have them, and then you're going to get to a certain point where you build enough self-confidence that even if you don't know how to do something, you know you're going to do it because you'll persist. You'll build that grit. Grit is such a powerful word. And once applied as part of your identity, that you'll outwork the competition. You'll out-effort the competition. And that's why talent is overrated. I'd much rather have skill than talent. Skill is developed with grit. It's developed with repetition. It's developed with a mindset of only seeing what you want. And that will break free of fear over and over again.
And it levels the playing field. It's so good. You've actually led right into, and maybe even got a jump start on my next question, which is a lot of times worry and doubt are coming from an outside circumstance. So would you say mastering subjective control is a way to get ahead of even worry and doubt?
Yeah, absolutely. See, when we're in control of what we're thinking about and aware of what we're thinking about, that will get us to the cause. The cause is us. We're in control of either accepting or rejecting. So subjective control, like we've talked about, the reason you keep bringing it up to me and I bring it up to you, it will literally allow us to control our own fate when we dictate what we're accepting. See, think of something that you had a hard time with at one point in your life. You're like, oh God, it was so hard, right? Then you think about it now. How would you think about that circumstance now from where you are with your awareness now? And you'll be like, oh, I would have handled it much differently. I would have understood it. That'll pass. See, adversities are going to happen, but they're going to pass. And they're for a very short period of time. That's why the development of dictating how you think and not letting the outside subjective control is going to change your world when you make that a part of your identity.
Do you think the problem, I would say worry and doubt are a widespread problem across the masses? And do you think that's largely because people are not actively thinking?
They're not thinking, they're responding. They open up their subjective mind and letting the outside think for them. And there's times that I'm sure you go through worry and doubt. I've gone through it. the thing is, once you start making worry and doubt so minuscule in your life because you believe in yourself and you know the processes now, because without the processes, you're going to have trouble. That's why we're always talking about different processes. And you want to have a tool belt around you where, oh, I could go to this process at this time. I can break a plateau at this time using a different process. But worry and doubt isn't going to leave, but you can minimize it and get in control of it by developing your mindset. See, a lot of people will say, oh, I know mindset is important. And I'll ask them, I'll say, well, tell me what mindset means, because the word has been so polarized, but a lot of people don't know what it means. See, mindset is you being in control and dictating how you want to live. It's your decision making. It's your attitude. It's your standard. It's your image. And it's your disciplines. And nothing happens without discipline. I will give you a formula right now that will break any fear that you will ever have outside of the one I gave you. It's discipline mixed with commitment, mixed with action. And you put those three together, you watch how fast the fear dissipates.
So good. All right, Arash, let's get into the action step for today.
Well, the action step is when you have a fear, I want you to follow this process, and I'm going to put it in steps for you. Okay. I want you from this moment on, you make a decision and make a commitment. I'm not going to let fear overtake me. And is it going to overtake you at sometimes? Yes. But then it's going to, instead of being weeks, it's going to be days. Instead of being days, it's going to be a day. Then it's going to be moments. That's our goal for you. But number one, when it comes in, just know it's the effect. It's not the cause. So how do we get to the cause? We say, where did the worry and doubt come from? Old conditioning. You talk to that old conditioning. Step one is you say, that's old conditioning. I reject it. Step two, you make a definite decision. You say the exact opposite of that worry and doubt. And then step three, you do one thing with action. You do it now. Burn that in your mind. Do it now, do it now, do it now. Mix action with commitment and discipline, and you're going to break through fear. And watch how many things now that you're going to go after. But you've got to practice it. Remember, do the work the ideas. They work every time if you work the ideas.
So good. Thank you so much, Arash, and thank all of you for joining us for another episode of the 7-Figure Standard podcast. Please leave us a rating, review, and share this with your friends and family, and we'll see you next week for another episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 7-Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mikey and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachandco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of 7-Figure Standard.